Today's video takes a look at Warcry, a product of Judges Guild. Please stick around. I'm AZ Mountaineer. This is our channel, Old School Rules, where we celebrate the community of old school gamers and grognards who like classic RPGs, miniatures, magazines, and everything that goes with it. Today's video continues our look at the products of Judges Guild. This is Warcry, Rules for Medieval Wargaming. Hope you enjoy the video. Again, today's product is called Warcry. It was originally published in 1978, and I'll mention later what I have here is a second edition that was published in 1981. Unlike a lot of the products which were for fantasy role-playing games and Dungeons and Dragons in particular, Warcry is actually just sort of traditional medieval wargaming rules that were created by a guy named David Petrowski. So here's our cover. Again, this is the second edition cover. I'll show you the other one here in just a second. And it came with a booklet. This is 32 pages. And then you got two sets of wall charts that came with that. The charts are the same. They're two-sided, so I guess you could either flip them over or you could hang one on each side. As they say, suitable for your wall, right? These are like 30 by 22 charts, and they have a whole bunch of information. We'll go over those in a little bit of detail here in just a second. Okay, so Warcry is from originally 1978. It's a David Petrowski, and then inside it also says Jim Allen's given credit for this. Original price was $4. You would get the booklet, and then, as I note, you get these charts with the second edition, which are kind of cool. So this is the first printing from 1978. You get the Roman soldier here on the front, and then 1981. And we can tell that date when you look at the list. They call it the booty list or the treasure vault or the items that they have for sale. You can look and see what the highest numbered item is, and that tells you sort of where you are in the publication history of Judges Guild. And so with that, we can tell this came out in 1981. So here's the front side of these charts. And again, these charts fold out. They're great big. Sequence of play, movement, terrain effects, movement cause missile fire, modifiers to your dice, missile range, all the kind of things you might want to have there in front of you. A melee chart, rules affecting visibility, modifiers when you're fighting one type of soldier versus another, missile fire, morale checks, different procedural notes. Okay, so this video is going to be kind of quick because I'm not going to really delve deeply into this, but I just want to go over it so people who might be interested and can kind of get a flavor for what's in here. Here's your table of contents, and then information for people who are getting credit for designing. You'll see here Ken Simpson, Ed Perry, Aaron McGee get credit, and Ken Simpson did the cover art on the second edition. The first thing we have is just some information about scale, the type of miniatures you might have, and then the sequence of play. So here's a blow-up showing the different size miniatures that they suggest you would use, like if you're using a 25 millimeter scale or a 15, different things like chariots or bigger animals would be slightly larger. Here's the sequence of play. This is a fairly important one. Again, get myself out of the way. The order writing phase, where you kind of decide, each player right at the tabletop decides what he or she's going to do. The movement phase, missile fire, melee combat, and morale checks. And that's sort of the high-level summary of how this is going to flow. Then if we just start looking down through the pages, again, and there's some good artwork. Well, I like sharing these pages. So we've got the order writing phase, talking about that. Rules for movement, how terrain affects your ability to move. Reaction moves, so like you react, somebody charges you or comes near you, maybe you react to that, etc. Rules for evasion, the types of missile fire you're trying to evade. Some rules here for missile fire, whether that's javelins or catapults or bows, crossbows, etc. Arcs of fire, and so this is, as you're firing a bow, it's like, what if there's 3 people in range, right? Who's going to get hit? So in his rule, you sort of hit the first person you come to, generally speaking, is the rule. And then there's rules for artillery, combat, melee combat, trying to disengage, use of chariots, charging. And I kind of like this one, when they say with cavalry or chariots, you can, 2 options. One is to charge, get a charging bonus, get an attack, and then move away from the infantry. And they don't get a reaction attack against you. Seems like that's what you'd always want to do. The other option is you stop next to them and then you just engage in melee combat. And then they have special rules here for if you're riding on an elephant. And elephants have an odor that can also cause sort of a morale check for the effect on the horses that might be in the other guy's party. Different points if you defeat a group of soldiers, if you cause the retreat of a group of soldiers, etc. If you want to keep track of points. Then they discuss some types of troops, rules for fortifications that you might want to have built up on one side or the other. More information about melee weapons. Disarray, the condition where the units become disorganized and completely lose formation. And then overlapping, when you've got a larger force up against a smaller force, you can kind of start to wrap around them on the sides. Morale checks. I like that art, the guy on the bottom with the sort of feathered headdress. And then here's some different types of historical, right, from Carthage, Assyria, Greek soldiers. Some discussion here about Roman soldiers. And then percentage losses based on your initial strength. If you had like 10% all the way up to 90% loss, how many sort of units would you lose there? Then how you organize your army, your generals, different types of units, and so forth. Then we've got a long discussion here about morale, battering with artillery, assaulting fortifications, and then some optional rules here, things like using caltrops against cavalry and elephants and so forth, poison weapons, dead, use of a shield wall, other things like that that you might want to use in your game. And then this is not titled, it just be naval warfare, so it's got ramming attacks, movement, under sail or under oar, etc. And then just some Q&A, things they thought maybe were common questions that weren't clear from the rules themselves. And then here's some artwork. I always like the artwork to share with you guys. It was on the bottom of some of the pages. That's it. And then we have here the more fine products from category of Judges Guild, and these are the products they had for sale at that time. And that's the rear art, this elephant charging. So that's our look at Judges Guild Warcry. Really simple product, interesting product, not a particularly popular product compared to some of the others. It doesn't really touch on Dungeons and Dragons, but it was part of the catalog that was put out by Judges Guild, so I wanted to share that today. You can usually pick up a copy of the second edition, fairly easy to find if you keep your eyes open. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hope you're enjoying the Judges Guild series, and I hope you're subscribed. If you have friends who might be interested in our content, please send them our way, and hopefully they'll become part of the community. Have a great rest of your day, and until next time, my friends, keep rolling 20s.